In this episode, we pull back the shroud of time to shed light on the harrowing specter of Thomas Thistlewood, a figure so horrible, his very name conjures up the darkest chapters of human barbarism. In the world of cruelty known as 18th century Jamaica, his reign of terror stands out for sheer savagery and sadism, a testament to the atrocities committed under the guise of commerce and civilization in the Jamaican plantations. Thistlewood's diaries, a macabre testimony etched in the ink of suffering, offer a grim portrait of a life spent in the pursuit of control through fear and punishment. We delve into the abyss, examining not just the acts of one tyrant, but the pervasive and systemic evils of an era that shaped the currents of history. Beware, the details are as unsettling as they are real. Brace yourself for a journey into the heart of darkness that still echoes with the pain of the past. So, prepare to confront the specters of history with us. Born in 1721 in the verdant county of Tuphome, Lincolnshire, England, Thistlewood's story begins far from the shores where his notorious legacy would unfold. Here, in the heart of England's agricultural bastion, young Thomas could not have seemed further from the life that awaited him in the Caribbean. But destiny, it seems, had a different plan. Thistlewood's father was Robert Thistlewood, a tenant farmer. Thomas's elder brother William inherited the majority of their father's estate. As a fatherless second son, Thomas faced limited prospects of inheriting substantial property or wealth. After his mother's remarriage, he relocated to Ackworth, West Yorkshire, living with his step-uncle Robert Calverley. There, he studied mathematics and practical sciences and apprenticed under William Robson. Recognizing the apprenticeship's limited opportunities, Thomas left to forge his own path. After his mother's death on October 7, 1738, Thomas became an orphan at 17. With no inheritance prospects, he pursued various ventures across England. These included returning briefly to Robson's farm, partnering with his brother, and attempting to court a woman named Bet Mitchell, which failed due to her parents' disapproval of his unstable finances and lifestyle choices. Motivated possibly by ambition, the allure of untapped wealth or adventure, little did he know, or perhaps he did, that his arrival in Jamaica would mark the beginning of a reign marked not by benevolence but by terror. In search of better opportunities, Thistlewood set sail for Jamaica on February 1, 1750. In Jamaica, Thomas Thistlewood established a stable life over 37 years, mainly around Savannah Lamar in southern Westmoreland. His initial role as an overseer was violent and ruthless, evidenced by incidents like the whipping of a slave 300 times. In 1766, Thistlewood bought and named a property Breadnut Island, moving there in 1767. He faced challenges such as harshly managing slaves, tropical storms, and dealing with runaway slaves. Although they ruled with iron fists, there were two things Thistlewood, along with other white Jamaicans, feared most: hurricanes and slave rebellions. Indeed, Thistlewood documented various hurricanes, notably rating the catastrophic 1780 hurricane as a 10, the most violent in Caribbean recorded history. But it was the threat of slave uprisings that constantly concerned him, highlighted in his January 8, 1751 journal entry. "Today first saw a white person since December 19th when I was at Black River." This entry underscores the isolation and vulnerability of overseers. He also recorded the largest 18th century slave rebellion in the British Empire, Tacky's Revolt in 1760, which killed about 50 white people and 500 slaves. The revolt aimed to remove whites and claim Jamaica for the slaves, leading white Jamaicans to enforce control through severe, immediate violence. Within 10 years of arriving in Jamaica, Thistlewood successfully became a plantation owner. His prosperity stemmed directly from exploiting enslaved Africans, whose labor under oppressive conditions fueled his rise. Thistlewood entered Jamaica during the peak of sugar cultivation, a sector thriving on European demand. This industry's dark side was the intensive labor of enslaved Africans, brought forcibly through the transatlantic slave trade. These individuals, stripped of freedom and rights, were pivotal to the Caribbean sugar industry. In 18th century Jamaica, Thomas Thistlewood was in many respects an ordinary man. But in one way he was extraordinary: his diaries. These journals, spanning 37 years, consist of over 14,000 entries and provide a richly detailed account of Thistlewood's life and era. Each entry serves as a stark testament to the daily horrors endured by enslaved Africans on his Jamaican plantation during the 18th century. Written with chilling precision, these pages offer a deeply unsettling glimpse into the soul of a man driven by a relentless pursuit of control through fear and punishment. Floggings and physical punishment. A recurring theme in Thistlewood's diaries is the use of severe physical punishment, particularly flogging, to enforce discipline and obedience among the enslaved. Floggings were administered for a range of perceived offenses, from minor infractions like stealing food to more significant acts of defiance, such as attempting escape. These punishments were meticulously recorded in Thistlewood's diaries, including the number of lashes and the reasons for the punishment. The physical impact of these floggings was devastating, often leaving the victims with deep wounds, scars, and in some cases, long-term physical disabilities. Confinement and restriction. Confinement was another common form of punishment. Thistlewood's diaries detail how he used stocks and small cages to immobilize and punish slaves. These methods of confinement were not only physically uncomfortable, but were also designed to humiliate and degrade, often leaving the individual exposed to harsh weather conditions and the ridicule of others. Such punishments were typically carried out in public spaces, serving as a warning to other enslaved individuals on the plantation. Mutilation as punishment. Though less frequent, instances of mutilation were among the most barbaric punishments Thistlewood recorded. Mutilation, such as cutting off parts of an ear, was a deeply symbolic act, permanently marking the enslaved as disobedient or troublesome. This form of punishment was intended to be a lasting reminder of the enslaved person's status and the consequences of defying authority. Darby's dose. The most notorious punishment mentioned in Thistlewood's diaries is Darby's dose. This involved forcing one slave to defecate in the mouth of another, then gagging the victim for hours. This punishment exemplified not only physical cruelty, but also profound psychological and emotional abuse. It was designed to be degrading and humiliating, a display of absolute power and control, and to instill fear among the enslaved population. Sexual exploitation and power dynamics. Beyond physical punishments, Thistlewood's diaries reveal a disturbing pattern of sexual exploitation. His documented sexual encounters with 138 enslaved women highlight the deeply rooted power imbalances on the plantation. These relationships, often non-consensual, further dehumanized the enslaved women, reducing them to objects of Thistlewood's desire and control. This aspect of his diaries underscores the intersection of gender, power, and exploitation within the plantation system. Systemic evils of the era. The documented cruelties in Thistlewood's diaries were not isolated incidents, but were reflective of the broader systemic issues of the time. The brutality and dehumanization were integral to maintaining the plantation system and the economic interests it served. These diaries provide critical insight into the everyday realities of slavery, including the normalization of violence and the mechanisms used to enforce the social hierarchy and control over the enslaved population. Trevor Burnard in Mastery, Tyranny, and Desire provides a broader context to Thistlewood's actions, arguing they stemmed from the white settlers' need to dominate an overwhelmingly enslaved population. While Thistlewood occasionally showed signs of humaneness, such as his relationship with Phoeba, his mistress, these instances were exceptions in an otherwise ruthless regime. As a harrowing testament to the cruelty and inhumanity inherent in the slave-holding system of the 18th century, Thistlewood's diaries illuminate the methods used to enforce control and suppress resistance. They serve as a powerful reminder of a dark and brutal chapter in human history, showcasing the depth of suffering inflicted and the resilience of those who endured it. This has been 400 years. Thank you for joining us on this journey of exploration into the heroic struggle for freedom and justice. We want to express our gratitude to each and every one of you for watching our videos. We hope it provided you with valuable insights along the way. If you enjoyed learning about Thomas Thistlewood and the black struggle against oppression and terror, please give this video a thumbs up and share it with others who might find it interesting. Remember to subscribe to 400 Years for more exciting topics in the future. Thank you once again for your support, and we'll see you in the next video.